YouTube, I'm back and today's video is for the pregnant or the postpartum moms because I'm going to be sharing all the tips that help me get back into my health and fitness journey postpartum. I'm going to be sharing the things that I did that helped me recover, get back into fitness, and accelerate my postpartum weight loss. There are so many things I could talk about and tips regarding postpartum in general, but this video is specifically just talking about health, fitness, and weight loss. Quick disclaimer before we get started that this video is in no way, shape, or form telling you that you have to lose the baby weight or bounce back. This video is just me sharing things that I did that helped support my goal, which was weight loss, and help me get back to the best, happy, healthy version of myself after I had my baby. That being said, I hope you enjoy and let's dive in. Number one on the list for a reason because I believe it's the most important. If you take away any tips from this video, please let it be this one, and that is to see a pelvic floor physical therapist and to complete a pelvic floor and core program. Whether or not you had a C-section, a vaginal birth, if you tore, if you didn't tear, whatever the case may be, every single postpartum mom can benefit from doing a pelvic floor and core program. Our bodies are stretched in ways they've never been stretched before during pregnancy, and there's just so much pressure on our pelvic floor muscles that we really have to be mindful of recovery postpartum. I completed a pelvic floor and core program for about 2.5 months, so 10 weeks postpartum, before I did any other exercise. Even though I was cleared by my OB to start exercise at 6 weeks, I just knew that my body was not ready. And trust me, I know how tempting it can be to try and get back into your regular routine. I gained about 60 pounds in my pregnancy and I was extremely antsy to start my fitness and my weight loss journey, but I knew that rushing into it was only gonna hurt me in the long run. I'm going to link the program that I did in the description. This is not sponsored or anything, it's just the program that I did and that I absolutely loved. And it was a 5-week program, but like I said, I did it for 10 weeks before I started weight training again. And I treated it like an event in my schedule. So I told my husband I'm gonna need about 20 to 30 minutes a day to complete this program. And obviously some days with a newborn, that 30-minute session actually took me 3 separate times throughout the day where I only had 10 minutes to spare. They're just sleeping on and off, but I still got it done. And all of those breathing principles that I learned, I apply them to my weight training workouts to this day. My second tip is to keep going strong with your supplement routine. Especially if you're breastfeeding, but even if you're not, staying consistent with taking a postnatal supplement is so important. I personally love the brand Ritual, and like everything else in this video, not sponsored, just genuinely love this brand. I find that after doing all my research, it was the most high quality, affordable brand of supplements that I could find, and it aligned with what I was looking for in a postnatal supplement. One quick tip that helps me remember to take my vitamins is I habit stack them. So what that means is I basically stacked the habit of taking my supplements onto a habit that I was already doing every morning, which was filling my water bottle. So every single morning, I knew that when I filled my water bottle, that was my cue to also take my supplements. And that leads me into my third tip, which is hydrate well and hydrate often. Hydration is so important. I remember when I was breastfeeding, my level of thirst was indescribable. I would have gallon jugs of water on my bedside table because I just could not quench my thirst. And investing in a very large water bottle with a straw was so helpful. The straw definitely cues me more to take frequent sips. And the fact that it's so large means I only have to fill it up once in the morning and then it's good to go all day long. This one here is the one that I ordered from Amazon. I can link it in the description. It also has all those time markers throughout the day, which can motivate you to drink more as well. My son was born in December and I live in Canada, so I also loved hydrating with warm beverages like bone broth or caffeine-free teas like peppermint or rooibos. My fourth tip is to eat a high protein diet. Before I felt ready to start tracking calories and enter a calorie deficit, I just made sure that my diet was protein focused. If tracking calories and macros feels overwhelming for you, I totally get it, and that's why I recommend to just start tracking your protein. I aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of my ideal body weight, which is 140 pounds, so I try to get 140 grams of protein a day. During postpartum, I tried to center all my meals around a protein source, and I always made sure that my fridge was stocked with my favorite protein foods like Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, eggs, turkey bacon, ground beef, protein bars, etc. Since I was breastfeeding, I did feel pretty motivated to nourish my body with good, healthy foods, and I always tried to pair my proteins with healthy fats like avocados, nuts, seeds, high-quality cheeses, and all that good stuff. The next tip is so important if weight loss is your goal, and that is to eat in a slight calorie deficit. Around 3 months postpartum, once my milk supply was established, I felt ready to enter into a fat loss phase and start eating in a calorie deficit. Since I wanted to be really careful not to take my milk supply, I did not cut my calories too low. Plus, I was really sleep deprived, so the chances of me being successful in a very aggressive calorie cut were very slim. I'm going to be honest, the thought of tracking calories again during postpartum was very overwhelming for me, so I just started with tracking my breakfast, and then I moved on to lunch and dinner once I got a handle on that. The number one tip I have for if you are going to be tracking your meals is to spend 5 to 10 minutes the night before pre-logging what you're going to eat the next day. And this doesn't have to be exact, doesn't have to be all your meals and all your snacks, but just a general idea on what you think you're going to be eating that day. That way you can quickly take a step back and look at your numbers, and if anything seems super off, you can make adjustments ahead of time rather than it being 8 p.m. at night and you still have 70 grams of protein to get to hit your target. My next tip is to walk every day, or at least as much as you can. And I think the benefits of this tip for your mental health might outweigh the physical benefits, because if you've experienced postpartum life, you know how easy it is to get into a slump. And like I mentioned, my son was born in December and we live in Canada, so those first 3 months, getting outside with him, it was very challenging, but I still did do my best to try and make it a priority. I set myself 2 micro goals postpartum, and one of them was to walk every day, and the other one was to have a protein shake a day. I call them micro goals because they're not massive, overwhelming goals like fit into my pre-pregnancy jeans or work out 6 times a week, but they're also not so small that they're irrelevant. The daily walk with my son just became part of my routine, and there was lots of days that I just didn't want to go, but I kind of just put myself on autopilot and I told myself, just go to the mailbox or just go to the end of the street. And 9 times out of 10, I would go much farther than that, and I always felt so good when I would come back from our walk. I did have a difficult labor and delivery with my son. He ended up being an assisted delivery. He was almost 10 pounds with a 99 percentile head. And I remember those first postpartum walks were extremely humbling. And I felt like I was never going to be the same again. I actually felt genuinely scared for myself. But fast forward just a few weeks later, and I would look at my Apple Watch rings and say like, wow, my pace on my walks has already improved so much. And I just kept building from there. It's all about recognizing the stage that you're in and accepting it with grace. Acceptance is not defeat. We can accept where we are and just continue to work on ourselves. And that acceptance of starting from the bottom is something that I also had to apply to my strength training workouts, which leads me into my next tip, and that is to strength train with progressive overload. I started strength training again around 10 weeks postpartum. Again, even though I was cleared by my OB at 6 weeks to exercise, I just did my walking and my pelvic floor core program for the first 10 weeks. And when I started off strength training again, I really started off as a beginner, despite the fact that I have been lifting weights for years and also worked out throughout my pregnancy. I knew my body was not ready to lift the weights and do the reps that I was doing before I got pregnant or even while I was pregnant during those early postpartum months. And while that sounds very reasonable and logical now, your ego can definitely get the best of you. And I wanted to rush back into my routine so badly, but I'm very glad that I didn't. And I just slowly worked on building myself up back to where I'm at now. I'm lifting heavier than I was even before my pregnancy. So I started off with body weight. Then I moved on to like the 5-pound dumbbells, 10-pound dumbbells, and I remember the first day that I squatted with the barbell in my squat rack. I think I was about maybe 5 or 6 months postpartum, and I just felt so accomplished to get back to that point. The key thing that really helped me build muscle and get that toned look postpartum was lifting weights with progressive overload. And what that means is every week or 2 weeks, slightly increase the weight or the number of reps that you're doing on each exercise. And that is the absolute key thing that has really helped me see the most results when it comes to strength training and the tone of my body. The final tip is probably the most difficult to implement, and that is to be patient with yourself and give yourself grace. I remember being about 8 weeks postpartum and feeling absolutely defeated that my body did not bounce back like I expected it to, or like how I saw other influencers or social media people that I follow just seem to be back into their regular pre-pregnancy bodies by 6 or 8 weeks postpartum. That just wasn't my reality. First few months postpartum, I was absolutely physically, emotionally, and mentally just drained. And the type of labor and delivery that I had just left me feeling very humbled and defeated, especially physically. If I could go back and say anything to myself, I would just remind myself to treat myself as I would a friend and just be as graceful and as appreciative as I can for the body that gave me my beautiful son, as cheesy as that sounds. The truth is, postpartum is forever. There is no snapping back, there's only moving forward. And that's it. Those are my 8 tips for getting back into your health and fitness journey postpartum. I hope you liked this video and found it helpful. If you have any comments, feedback, or suggestion, I would love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.